Morning, guys. We're on Revelation 21 verses 8, and we're just looking at this topic of idolatry. All of these things are very big topics, so to try and summarize them in 5 minutes is very difficult, but I'm just going to look at a few aspects. Obviously, the one that comes to mind is Exodus 32, the golden calf, and we see that Moses took along up the mountain. The people grew tired and weary, and they started to make an image of God in their own fashioning. And so they brought all the earrings and the things around them of value, and they made that calf. Wrong God, a wrong form of worship, full of drunkenness and sexual immorality, and that's where it leads. But as we head in today, it's a lot more subtle. There's a lot of deception with idolatry. It's not necessarily worshipping a golden calf, but anything that we worship above God, anything that we put above God. So we need to always test our thoughts, our minds. What do we love more than God? In Romans 1 verse 23 it says, "And they exchanged the glory of the incorruptible God for an image in the form of a corruptible man, and of birds and four-footed animals and in crawling creatures. Therefore God gave them over to the lusts of their hearts, to impurity, so that their bodies would be dishonored among them. And they exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. For this reason God gave them over to degrading passions, for their woman exchanged the natural function with the unnatural, and same with the men." And so when we see that happening today, we can see that God has given them over to this idolatry, to the worship of things that they lust for. And this is actually the wrath of God being poured out right now on this generation. And this idolatry is so rough. Yes, it's not the golden calf, but it's in so many different forms. We did sorcery last time, which is where the Greek word pharmakeia comes from. And if you follow the progression, for instance, of that idol in Numbers 21, there's that bronze serpent that Moses fashions, and that all the people have to do is look at that bronze serpent, and they get saved from those snakes that bite them, because they were grumbling in the desert, and these snakes came out and bit Israelites, and they died. And so Moses made that bronze serpent for them to look at, and we know from John 3:15 that bronze serpent is a symbol or representation of Jesus. So when we look on Jesus in faith, we are saved from our sin. But instead of worshipping the true God, Jesus Christ, and worshipping who He is, they worship the created thing, the creature, something fashioned with their own hands. So their eyes come from God down to a physical thing. And that physical idol became a trap for many different generations. The Greek, because it stayed on, the Israelites worshipped it for 400 years before Hezekiah finally destroyed Nehushtan, that bronze serpent. But in that time, other nations embraced that bronze serpent on the pole, being an idol of the God of healings. The Greeks embraced it, and other nations. And finally, the World Health Organization has got that snake on the pole as their symbol. And you see it on the ambulances, and many different medical things have embraced it. But the point is, folk will become lovers of those things they create. And today, it's money, it's self. 2 Timothy 3 talks about it. It's science, technology. It's merging with the world. And so there's a deception out there. In fact, Ephesians 5 verse 5 says, if you covet, it's idolatry. So Satan puts all these deceptions out there, and we end up coveting those things and merging with those technologies, and they become our love and what we desire instead of the true God. So we've got to be careful that we're not deceived by all these things that are going on around us. How do we react to idolatry? We flee from it. It's the same way we react to sexual immorality. We flee. So when you see these deceptions, then we need to flee from all these things that are out there. So I trust you have a wonderful day. God bless.